أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم والحمد لله والصلاة والسلام على من لا نبي بعده سيدنا ونبينا وحبيبنا ومولانا محمد صلى الله تعالى عليه وسلم وعلى آله وصحبه ومن اهتدى بهداه إلى يوم الدين. فإن أصدق الحديث كتاب الله وخير الهدي هدي محمد صلى الله تعالى عليه وسلم وشر الأمور محدثاتها وكل محدثة بدعة وكل بدعة ضلالة وكل ضلالة في النار. ربي اشرح لي صدري ويسر لي أمري واحلل عقدة من لساني يفقهوا قولي. ربي لا تؤاخذني مما يقولون واغفر لي ما لا يعلمون واجعلني خيرا مما يظنون. Amma ba'd. My dear brothers and sisters in Islam, Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi ta'ala wa barakatuh. Welcome to another blessed day of Jumu'ah in the year 1445 after the Hijrah of Rasulullah sallallahu ta'ala alayhi wa sallam. Welcome to the season of the Hajj. And of course, welcome to the continuation of our explorations of the lessons we can learn from Surah Al-Hujjuraat. My dear brothers, my dear sisters, welcome to the channel from which you learn about Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, about His creation, about His message, about His messenger, and of course about His chosen religion known as Al-Islam. Welcome to the channel from which you learn how to live and be happy in the world we live today, and how to return back to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala for even greater happiness and success on the day of accountability. And there is no other channel you can learn all this except the House of Dua. Therefore, always be with us. We ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to guide us to the straight path. My dear brothers, my dear sisters, we are bringing you another very important lesson from Surah Al-Hujjuraat. The verses we are bringing to you today are verses that we alert our minds to one of the most dangerous problems, destroying the goodness of human beings into this world. And we need to be careful. We have said time and time again in this channel that we need to watch out for what we say with our mouth, either in front of or behind people. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will definitely hold you accountable for how you use your mouth. We also want to be careful with how we handle the information that we receive from time to time from people we call our friends and those who are our relations, and even our foes. A piece of information comes to you, you need to verify before you act on that information. Otherwise, you'll be hurting innocent people. This is the lesson we are bringing to you today from Surah Al-Hujjuraat. Against the background of what is happening in today's world, where people are so much in a hurry to do damage to other people, they have no time to verify information that come to them, or they don't have the desire or sincere intention to do so. At the end of the day, we end up acting wrongly, destroying our own goodness. On one hand, we strive to do good deeds. On the other hand, before those deeds are rewarded, we by ourselves nullify them through the use of our mouth or through the use of other parts of the body. My dear brothers, my dear sisters, this is why many of us are struggling in today's world, and they don't know. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says in Surah Muhammad, Ya ayyuhalladhina amanu ati'u Allaha wa ati'u Rasulah wa la tubtilu a'malakum. Oh, you have believed. Obey Allah and follow the example of Muhammad sallallahu ta'ala alayhi wa sallam, his messenger. And do not use your hand to destroy your own deeds. Today, we want to remind ourselves of something we do from time to time. Only very few people can claim to be free from this kind of conduct. And that is, a piece of information comes to you from somebody. It becomes a subject matter between you and that person, discussing in between you and that person, in the absence of the person that the information is all about. Whether that information is correct or not, the fact that you don't have the permission of the person to discuss that issue That by itself is a sin. It's called backbiting. But if what you are saying behind that person is false, and still you are discussing it behind him, it is called slander. And when you carry it away from that person to another person with the intention to defame that person whose information you are carrying about from one place to another, when you do that, you are actually blackmailing. My dear brothers, my dear sisters, blackmail, slander, backbiting all come into this subject. That's why we are bringing these verses to you today, so that all of us could check ourselves against this. There is a piece of technology that all of us are carrying around nowadays known as the cell phone. And with that, information fly from one corner to another. Many of this information are not true. They are simply movies. They are simply games. They are simply lies. But yet, many of us, without even considering the consequences of what we are doing, as soon as we receive the information, we send it out without even verifying. A piece of information has come that the president of your country has embezzled some money. You have no idea if that was true. You go ahead and start spreading that information. It is wrong. Same thing could come about your wife, about your husband, about your brother, about your sister, about your friend, about your co-worker, about your colleague student in the school, about your imam. This is what happens in today's world. But it's a big sin, and we need to check ourselves against it. Nations have gone to war against other nations because of fake news they received about the opposite nation. Take the case of the war of America against Iraq. A report came from the CIA that Iraq was building weapons of mass destruction. The United Nations set up a commission headed by Hans Blix to investigate that matter before the world could know what to do. But the government of America at that time was impatient. They didn't investigate thoroughly. They rushed into action and launched a war against Iraq, a war that resulted into the destruction of millions of lives and property. Today, that black spot is in the history of America because of what they did in Iraq. My dear brothers, my dear sisters, similar things have happened at the family level. Families have been broken up because of false information from those who are members of that family against others. That's why the verses we are bringing to you today are very important, and we need for all of us to pay attention. Today we are coming to you with verse 6 of Surah Al-Hujjuraat, supported by verse 7 and 8. In these verses, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, Ya ayyuhalladhina amanu in ja'akum fasiqun binaba'in fatabayanu an tusibu qauman bijahalatin fatusbihu ala ma fa'altum nadimin wa'lamu anna fiikum rasulallah la yutiikum fi kathirin min al-amri la'anitum ولكن الله حبب إليكم الإيمان وزينه في قلوبكم وكره إليكم الكفر والفسوق والعصيان أولئك هم الراشدون فضلا من الله ونعمة والله عليم حكيم. O you who believe, if an evil person comes to you with a piece of news, verify it. Why an evil person in the first instance? Because a person who leaves his or her home, coming to your own home with a piece of information about somebody else, whether that information is true or not, the fact that he is talking behind the person is by itself a sin. That is called backbiting. He comes to you to backbite. And if what he's telling you is wrong, He's actually slandering the person he's talking about. And that's how the Munafiqun of Medina slandered the beloved wife of the Prophet sallallahu ta'ala alayhi wasallam with a piece of information that was not true. That's a story for another day. My dear brothers, my dear sisters, it's important for us to pay attention to this issue. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, when the piece of information comes to you, even if the person who brought the information to you seemingly is righteous or a good person, trusted person, that does not mean you should act on the information. You still need to investigate how far is it true. Before you act on it, fatabayanu, investigate, seek the truth before you act on it. Atusibu kauma bijahalatin fatusubihu alama fa'alitun nadimi. The reason is for you not to act wrongly and hurt innocent person. Then at the end of the day, you find out that the information was wrong. All of you need to bear in mind that the messenger is still in your midst. Now, physically, even though it's not here, he left behind the Quran and the Hadith to guide us. Therefore, we need to check the Quran and check the Hadith and know what Allah revealed about the matter and what the messenger exemplified. Otherwise, we'll be hurting innocent people. Just pause for a moment. Ask yourself, how many times have pieces of information come to you, whether about politics or about sports or about human being, about your wife, about your sister, about your brother, about other people? How many times do you take a second to say, wait a minute, are you sure? I will find out. Those who call themselves judges or investigators or even policemen or those who are leaders in various organizations who are called upon from time to time to judge over matters or information that come to them need to take note of this. It's absolutely important. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, when a piece of information comes to you, verify it before you act on it so that you don't hurt innocent people. If you are not sure, find out what Allah revealed in the Quran and what the Prophet stated by example. And remember that if you were to act contrary to the Quran, the Hadith, or contrary to the opinion of the Prophet at that time when he was with them, then you find yourself in difficulty. And if the messenger were to, compromise with you, then all of you will be in trouble. What it means, therefore, is that if you are to set aside the Quran and the Hadith today and continue to act, you'll find yourself in great difficulty. My dear brothers, my dear sisters, this is very important. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, out of his love for all of you, he has made this deen attractive to you, the laws of Allah and the example of the messenger. And he has beautified it in your heart. He has made it loving to you. And he has created in you the disincentive, the hatred to do that which is wrong, such as causing transgression, blackmail, creating problems in the society by the use of your mouth or by peddling information all over the place. My dear brothers, my dear sisters, this is a very important matter. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, Fadlan min Allah. This is a favor from Allah. That he had made you Muslims. It's a favor from Allah. Therefore, accept that favor and enjoy it by being of good character. And dear brothers and dear sisters, it cannot be more clear. And as I said, search your conscience. How many a time have you found yourself in this kind of situation? It doesn't matter. I know you're going to tell me it was just a minor thing. It doesn't matter whether it's a major or minor thing. You got to investigate. When they were slandering Aisha radiallahu anha, the wife of the Prophet, that's what they told themselves. Allah says, Is it Allah kaunahum bi'asinatikum? وتقولون بأفواهكم ما ليس لكم به علم وتحسبونه هينا وهو عند الله عظيم. When the information came to them, they received it with their mouth instead of their ears. We use ear to receive information, right? But they receive it with their mouth. What does that mean? It means they receive it without even considering the rightness or wrongness of that information, and they went ahead and started speaking about it and started spreading the information. And when they were caught, they told themselves, hyena was just a mere trifle. Allah said, really? Hyena? You think it was a trifle? No, it was not. In the sight of Allah, it's a big deal. And dear brothers, my dear sisters, let us be careful. We ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to guide us to the straight path, take us away from the shaitan, guide us in the best use of our mouth, enable us to know right from wrong, and to make effort to distinguish between right and wrong before we act. ربنا تقبل إنك أنت السميع العليم وتب علينا يا مولانا إنك أنت الغفور الكريم سبحان الله وبحمده سبحانك اللهم وبحمدك نشهد أن لا إله إلا أنت نستغفرك ونتوب إليك الحمد لله